afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It is a great day for our city, so thanks for coming out, and it's my pleasure to formally present our new police chief, which is not really new. He's been a veteran of the department for 25 years, Chief Trigg. But I want to have a few remarks before his opportunity to greet everyone. And just to remind everyone, as city manager, it was really important for me as we began to search for the new leader of the Grand Rapids Police Department, that we had a very open, transparent, and community-engaged process, that this community deserves no less. And it's important that whoever was selected as our police chief was open to that transparency, open to that community engagement, and open to that competition. I expect every person that's hired in the Grand Rapids Police Department to compete for whatever level of position that they receive. Entry-level officers do it. They compete with people across the country. Whenever we promote within the department, each officer competes for every rank, from sergeant to lieutenant to captain and even deputy chief. So having a police chief who was unafraid of community engagement, unafraid of competition, unafraid of transparency was very important. And to do it in such a public level, while it was very rigorous, we know that in these times that the police department often faces very public scrutinized positions, and we want to make sure that that person could handle it in the administrative process, because there are times in critical incidents where we know that it will be even more scrutiny and transparency. So I want to thank all the candidates who were part of that process, and after going through a very, very rigorous process, it was clear that Joe Trigg was the right selection because he had demonstrated leadership qualities, his depth of experience, his knowledge, his community-centered mindset, and all of the other intangibles that elevated him to the forefront of all of the feedback from the various panels, especially the community-centered process. He distinguished himself as someone who leads with integrity, who listens before acting, who understands that safety is not something we build just with the safety is something we build with the community and not something just for the community. I expect Chief Trigg to lead this department in a way that strengthens trust and ensures safety and well-being of every resident is at the forefront, and we remain one of the safest communities in the country. This means fostering mutual understanding, building authentic relationships inside and outside the department, co-creating public safety wherever possible, and embracing transparency and oversight. These are essential to maintaining the confidence in and outside the police department. I've also charged Chief Trigg with retaining and recruiting top-tier talent and doing the daily work that's required to keep morale high in the department and in the broader community. It is important our officers observe strong leadership, clear expectations, and a culture that supports excellence. And Chief Trigg is the leader that can do that. Our community deserves a police department that reflects its values and serves with professionalism and respect, and I'm confident that Chief Trigg is prepared to meet those expectations. So at this point, I will ask Chief Trigg to come forward and have some remarks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. First, I want to thank the city manager sincerely for giving me the opportunity, first in the interim role, and then having the confidence in me to have faith that I could take this department to the next level. My first thought is I'm honored. I feel blessed to be in this position. I had a calling for law enforcement a long time ago when I was 11 years old, and then the second calling was when I felt our department needed a leader to step up. And I work best when I work off purpose, and that purpose was very clear. I want to be that person out of the department that can take our community engagement to the next level, and not just be a word of just a buzzword, right? But actually to build a connection and understanding with the community, something I've worked on my whole career since putting on this uniform, the engagements and the relationships I've built over a 25-year career, relationships that I've built from various leadership roles that I've taken on, knowing that, you know, I was once a young man that didn't feel understood and didn't feel heard, and the power of being heard, you know, and the power that this uniform represents and the authority that you have, and that to be able to sit down with people and be able to gauge them, whether that's with our own people. We've seen it change morale. It's the same concept when you're dealing with the community. We have community that goes through a lot of different challenges, and I always want our officers to be compassionate, regardless of who they're dealing with. If somebody that's struggling to make ends meet, or they're in the suite in the tallest building in the city, right? And it's not just words, right? I want our officers to feel it and understand it, and be welcome to the criticism. The criticism makes us great. I said you've got to be a high expectations drive high performance. I believe in that. I make a lot of sports references. Sports were very important to me as a young man that didn't have guidance, and I found that guidance and leadership from sports. That a good work ethic into your sport can make you pretty good and make you accomplish things, and it led me down the road to being able to accomplish this. I'm driven for this profession. That drive is still very high, and I feel like there's a lot of good work yet to do, and I'm encouraged by it. And I've got a fine department of great young leaders and leaders that have been around with a lot of experience, and that's valuable insight that we have, but also a willingness to look inward and see if we can do things better. We haven't always done things great. We've learned from our predecessors on mistakes. We all learn from mistakes. I learn from mistakes every day. So, but just that willingness to be able to look inward, make mistakes. I welcome oversight because I believe in what we do as an agency, and I want the world to see what we do as an agency. If that's something that's maybe held over our head, like we have something to hide, I don't want that to be out there. I want to show exactly how we do things, what we do, and then have serious conversation about if there's some ways we can do it better. So that being said, very blessed for the opportunity. It's a tall order, but I have the shoulders for it. I don't expect anything easy. I respect the process. I know there was a lot of talk of, do we need to do a process? No, we absolutely need to do a process. I don't want anything handed to me in life. I try to be an example for my kids and anybody else watching. If you want something, you got to put in the hard work and go and get it. So thank you again, City Manager, for the opportunity. And questions for you or me?
We'll take some questions. I want to remind media here today and the public that Chief Trigg's formal swearing in will be on June 29th at 5:30?
5:30.
5:30 p.m., and we'll do it right here in the commission chambers. Questions?
Go ahead. Hey, Chief Trigg, I'm Jackson Walker. I'm with Grand Rapids Herald. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for stepping up into this role. Wanted to ask you about your predecessor, Eric Winstrom. He was very vocal on his way out about how politics, especially working with activists, played into his role. What's going to be your approach to that part of this job, especially considering how his tenure here in Grand Rapids ended?
As I've said before, his experience is his experience. Does a lot of criticism come with this role? Absolutely it does, but we need men and women to be able to shoulder that, and especially if you have you hold a certain leadership rank at our department, I expect you to be able to handle that better and be an example for our young men and women. It's just part of the job, the criticism, but the community at whole appreciates their police department. That's stuff you see day in and day out that I know sometimes there's a different narrative out there, but someone that reviews body camera and sees the incident of 300 calls a day coming into our city, that our men and women are appreciated. That doesn't mean they can't improve and do better either, right? So it's something we're going to constantly evaluate, try to get better. So.
Chief, you mentioned that
I think
there's
I'm gonna be up here for a
lot of
minute.
work that needs to be done. What kind of work are you looking to get done?
Just with the trust piece. Trust is forever, right? That's something you're going to constantly be working on. And I know that's been a big barrier my whole career. I think every agency in the world deals with, a lack of trust, issues in this profession. It's a tough job. This authoritative type position where you're thrusting yourself into people's lives and being the mediator or the referee per se. And I think anytime you can explain, you can be more transparent about things and show exactly, why we as a department are concerned about certain things. It just opens up avenues for deeper discussion, understanding, something I've been able to do in my career, something I've been working back channels with various community leaders in this community for quite some time, and definitely as my role as a deputy chief. I didn't build these contacts during this interim process. I've had these contacts for years, and so just to build on that, because I think that's an important piece, and then continue to look at what type of training or innovation that can take our department, next level per se. How can we do our job more efficiently? I think is important. It's a learning process that never stops. Trust is a thing you never stop trying to build. So that's.
I know last week you talked about the concept of you are an insider. You're not being brought in from somewhere else. How is your connection to Grand Rapids going to help you throughout this role as chief?
Well, I think understanding the department, understanding the men and women that work here, as I said before, you have to invest in your people if you want to send them out to the street and have them invest in the community, right? You have to show them love and care if you want them to go love and care for the community. So I think that's an important piece. That I have a standard, right? I have both compassion and I also have that direct side of me that that doesn't have a problem confronting anybody about anything. And I embrace the tough conversations more than anything, because I know from my experience, not everybody is comfortable doing them, but I think they're the most powerful. It's when you can, drive the most change, or at least have the serious conversations and, try to get some stuff done. And I was at Pastor Bishop's church on Sunday, and I appreciated him speaking to just that when he was kind of explaining who I am. I'm not going to I'm of course obedient and disciplined and all that type of stuff, but I will challenge, the narrative, challenge certain things and force those discussions and not just go along with the motions. That's fake. It's not helpful, and that's just not who I am as a person. I don't know, I have how many years I have left, 6, 7 years, but, so I'll hold rank or this position for 6, 7 years, but I'm going to be Joe Trigg for the rest of my life. So I like to stand on my standards, and until the day I am no longer here. So.
I know you said you were open to criticism. I don't know if you happened to see the video that just came to light on social media about an officer punching a passenger in their car. Have you seen that video?
I have not seen it yet. I've heard about it. I've talked to my deputy chief who was reviewing it. We've had recruit interviews this morning, but I'm aware of it. I won't comment too much on it until I know, other than the use of force issues. I know with the kicks and strikes, they never look good. That's why we've moved towards some of the grappling type stuff. But I'm curious I'll get some more details on exactly what that is. But yes, I hear it's on social media and get some attention.
What's your stance on de-escalation tactics?
I think we should obviously use any tactic we can to try to de-escalate a situation. I think our men and women do a great job at it, and if there's something that we can do better, like I said, is there an incident? Any type of incident that happens, it's reviewed by our training staff, where you have some subject matters with, probably hundreds of years of experience. They really do. And then we review it as a command staff. And what are we missing? Is there opportunities to get better with something? As someone that led our internal affairs unit for 2.5 years, we have what's called supplemental training. So that's something that even if it didn't fall out of policy, we as leaders or subject matter experts, training staff, we could have done that probably a little better, because that's the standard. Just because it's within policy doesn't mean we couldn't do it better. We have a standard. Sometimes that's pretty high, and not every officer can live to that standard. That's why we see sometimes some recruits or some laterals come from other departments, and they don't end up being successful and end up moving on because our standard is different.
Chief, I'd love to hear from both of you on this, actually. Various public figures have discussed or talked about what I describe as a tension under previous police leadership between PD and City Hall. How is your relationship going to be different? How are you going to manage that sort of kind of dueling interest as a partnership going forward? And is that something that's on your minds as we enter this?
Well, city manager's been nothing but supportive for me during this whole process. So that's my experience. I'm not aware of any issues that have ever been, to my knowledge. I know I had a different role at the time, but I have felt supported by the city manager, the commission, the mayor. I felt the appreciation for our department and what our men and women do. And so, yeah, I've had a great experience.
So the chief won't have a relationship with City Hall. City Hall's a building. He'll have a relationship with me, of course. I'm being facetious, but obviously there are politics in the community. I think that's what you're referring to. And it's not necessarily City Hall. It's the tension that exists in law enforcement. Our city commission, both current and previous ones, the previous one, they've all supported much of the requests that's come from the police department. So the perception of that conflict, I think, is greater than the reality. I've had a great relationship with every chief that has worked here, with including Chief Trigg and our previous chief, Chief Winstrom. So there's a lot of, I think what happens here at City Hall doesn't get to happen inside the police department. At city commission meetings, there's opportunity for public comment and the public to come and openly express their concerns or support for the police department. And it is the elected officials' opportunity to hear from the public. They don't get to respond to it. So sometimes there's a perception, because they listen without responding immediately, that there's affirmation of everything that is being said. And while there may be some agreement, I think the city commission has been pretty balanced in their consideration of some of the public's concerns, and actually go more in depth on those concerns during the actual public safety committee meeting. So I look forward to a very positive working relationship with the chief, with all the members in the police department and the community, because if we're going to get it right in Grand Rapids, we have to get it right together.
Chief, you've been in this department a long time. I'm just wondering if there's anything specific on your wish list that you've been sitting on. You know, one day when I'm chief, we'll make this different. Is there any ask, any policy change, any trainings, anything that you felt like this department has been lacking that you always wanted to change? And what will that be?
Well, I think we have great policies. That being said, it's once again, it's always something that we can improve on. I'm proud of our CALIA accreditation that we've had for, probably 8+ years now. That puts us in the top 5% of agencies across the world. But hey, I'd like to be 1%. If we can. That's just how I process things. So, no, and those policies are reviewed yearly. But I know we just did a presentation, or OPA did a presentation on our K-9 policy. So that's an opportunity. Well, even though CALIA came through yearly review type stuff, it's, hey, this came up. Let's look at the policy. Is there anything that we can do better? Is there anything that we missed? I know there's some recommendations that we're looking at right now. So I don't ever think we're going to stop trying to make our policies the best in the world, and definitely, we want to police our city how they want to be policed too, to a certain extent, right? We still want to have a safe place to people to live, work, and play, and all that stuff. But yes, from a training standpoint, Captain Cyber was influential on bringing that EFC, the grappling type stuff, to our department, finding out that it's most effective. Kicks and strikes. A lot of people think just, the kicking and striking, it's outside of policy. No, it depends, right? You have to take the whole totality of the situation and see what it is, but it's more beneficial. Back in the day, if we're wrestling with a subject on the ground, we're all just kind of grabbing, we have no organization to it. The grappling brings some type of organization, getting officers comfortable with being on their back and not panicking, maybe not going to a lethal force situation because they're comfortable being on their back. There's so many different things that go into that, but no, we're going to look at it as a department. There's something we can get better with, but the biggest piece is the trust piece. Like I said, it's huge. It goes a long way, and I've seen throughout my career and the relationships that I've built, and that it's important when, I've entered my various leadership roles on how the community looks at that, and they feel like they're connected to somebody that understands and was willing to engage. And my lifetime coming from some challenging upbringing, and some of the same things that are relatable to some of our residents in our community that are struggling. We all don't get to start at the start line. Some of us start way back, and that's a lot to deal with. So just encouraged to kind of be that bridge. I feel called to this for right now for whatever reason, and I'm encouraged by the conversations I'm already having. Like I said, in the background already, which is started weeks ago. Specifically to this day, seeing this day as possible, and some things that we can do. All those that I feel encouraged by this decision in the community, which is in turn encourages and inspires me. So.
Chief, when it comes to, obviously you've been in this department for 25 years.
Yep.
You talked about Officer Kosminski multiple times.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think he would say to you or think of you in this moment?
I've talked to his. I haven't returned the call from his parents. Just called me this morning, but talking to his child's mother and his daughter, I know they're proud for sure. That's also a reason why I hold a lot of pride in this profession. And I get it. Not everybody can tap into that, but as I said, When you bury a brother in this profession, it makes you want to stand straighter. It makes you want to make sure your tie is straight, and your shoes you're shined, and that you're presented well for the profession and what this profession means. So that gives me the ability that if you're falling short of our standard of addressing it, because he doesn't have the opportunity to shine his badge and defend this profession anymore, and we don't need any added hate in this profession for something that we could have done better. So we want to make sure that we are living up to the standard. Pressure is a privilege, right? It's a tough job. It's a lot of criticism, but we've got men and women to shoulder it, and if for some reason they have to pause or they fall below the expectations, I believe that we have an accountability system to address that. But no, I think he'll be proud. I could feel the pride from his family, from his daughter. And like I say, I'm honored because I said during, given his eulogy that I was going to spend the rest of my career trying to honor him, and I honor him by honoring this profession and what it stands for.
There's been some criticism to what people call kind of a rotating door of police chiefs within the
Yeah.
police department. Something you said to me back in the spring, this is the department where you spent your career, this is your home, anything can happen, but what, role does this chief position play in the rest of your career?
Well, I could confidently say it's my last chapter. I am not going to work at another police department. I don't have the need or the desire, and that doesn't mean I'm not inspired. I won't need to. I don't want to. So to me, it's like my last dance. I want to pour everything I can into this department, make sure it's set up for success. We have great leaders here. Someone willing to step up to the challenge. Not that I need it, but my son is here, right? I want to be an example for my son, and he's going to be held to the same standard, and realize that this is a great organization, it's a great city, it's a great community. Don't ever let, anyone, politics, try to make this us versus them. It's not. You're appreciated every day, and you'll see that because you have boots on the ground, making the contact at the doors, the victims that don't feel safe talking to us, because there's repercussions for being too friendly and cooperative with the police, but they want to call you by the phone and instead of pulling up, to realize that those victims, they deserve a service, and don't lose sight of that. But I want to leave this department in the city in a good place, and I'm going to pour everything I got, because this is it after this, right? So, and I think I will have earned it after that, if I can say so.
What's something that you wish the community better understood about Grand Rapids?
Before I answer that, let me go back to your comment, because I want to also add to the turnover in the profession and the concept of retaining a police chief. I think what I've learned over the years is that as you look at policing, you can't look at it at just policing, particularly if you're the chief in one city. It is the challenge in the profession across the country. The average tenure of police chiefs used to be 7 to 10 years, and since the pandemic, it has decreased to 3 to 4 years, even less. And so I think everybody who comes into this job comes in with excitement, with commitment, and with resilience. And we really want to make this our city. Hopefully we'll have in their career here in Grand Rapids, and some people did. Chief Payne did exactly that. He promoted internally, and he decided after a few years that it was time for a change. Chief Winstrom came in looking to have a long-term relationship in this community and the department, and for many reasons, his own reasons, he made a different decision. But his decision, my point is not uncommon to what other chiefs are experiencing across the country. It is a tough job, as Chief Trigg said, and what makes it easier is when the community wants to police with the chief, with the police department, with the elected officials, when we're doing it together. And I think that is a sense of togetherness that I'm hoping that community, all parts of the community, comes together and really helps the chief move this city forward, helps him, makes his job a little easier. It will always be tough, but coming alongside of the police chief and the men and women in the police department can make it a little bit better. And the department needs to also come alongside the community. It's a two-way street.